Some people have been asking why I've become such a jerk lately. I'm just kidding. Nobody asked me that. But I'm going to tell you anyway. It all started when I got captured by digital reporting CEOs in the great stenography war of whatever year this is. Now let me explain some things. Stenographic court reporting is where you take down verbatim notes on the little stenotype that's on the chair behind me, and a computer is translating your steno strokes in real time into English. So by the end of a proceeding, you have probably roughly 98% done on a good day if you're pretty average, and certainly 90% of everything is transcribed. Then there's digital court reporting, and they take down stuff on a multi-track recorder and it is transcribed by someone else later. Often that someone else is overseas and outside the subpoena power of lawyers, so if anybody messed with the transcript, we probably wouldn't be able to get those transcribers in to testify. There's a study called Testifying While Black that in 2019 alerted us that court reporters, stenographic court reporters, are only 80% accurate with African American vernacular English. That is a dialect found here in the United States. The part you cannot readily Google is the pilot study. And the pilot study 1 was lay people, and they were 40% accurate. And pilot study 2 was lawyers, and they were 60% accurate. So not only do all the news outlets get this wrong, they're actively lying, because I brought up these pilot studies in my Vice News segment where I'm on TV answering questions about this, and they use about 15 seconds of me from the 2 hours that they recorded me, and they completely cut out the part about the pilot studies. So here you have a story about how court reporters hear this dialect at a rate that's twice as accurate as your average person with no special training, and the media just misses it. And then the study Racial Disparities in Automatic Speech Recognition comes out. And why is this important? Well, because now we have digital proponents like Verbit who are saying, oh, we're going to run our audio through automatic speech engines, and that's going to transcribe most of it, and then we're going to have our transcribers clean it up. Well, guess what? 2020, there is a study called Racial Disparities in Automatic Speech Recognition, and it tests the automatic speech recognition from all the major players. I think it's like IBM and Microsoft and all these people. And that shows 80% accuracy for white speakers, 65% accuracy for black speakers, and for those African American vernacular English speakers, it's 25 to 50% accurate. It's really bad. Add to that the media coverage was so completely outrageous on Testifying While Black and so completely non-existent on racial disparities in automatic speech recognition, and we have a problem. You look up Testifying While Black today, you get Alzo Slade, you get NBC, you get media, and you get the clip that I'm in, and you get all this stuff. You look up racial disparities in automatic speech recognition, it's like, hey, you want to read this study? So, did you catch that? Basically, when we're talking about digital reporting, we're talking about recruiting from lay people, which is the group that gets the 40% on the AAVE dialect, or we're talking about recruiting lay people to transcribe what the automatic speech recognition does, which is somewhere between 25 and 80% accurate, and then good luck figure it out. Then there's another part to this puzzle. My field and many others are under siege by big private equity investor money. And why this is a problem is corporations can operate at a loss. It's something called a zombie corporation. I made a video on it. I'll try to link that. To really illustrate why this is a problem, imagine a situation where a company can come in, pay its workers $4 and charge its clients $2, and basically drive out all the competition. And any competition that's worth its salt, just buy them out with your big investor money. Why not? So you end up in a situation where you're pushing out all this competition, and then once the competition is gone, you can jack up the rates and make back all your losses. So actually, I think that's the situation we're in, and I think that because I looked at VIQ Solutions in my Zombie Corporations video, and I said, hey, look, they made $8 million in revenue, but in profit, they were negative $10 million. So that's kind of like if you basically paid out double what you took in. So this is like a wet dream for court administrators who are like, oh, we could bump out the court reporters and save all this money, yay! Guess what? If they get rid of us, they're jacking up your rate. It's not going to be 20% more. It's not going to be 40% more. It's going to be at least double because these people are operating at a loss. And the only reason that I can't say that about Veritext or US Legal or Planet Depots or any of these other private equity assholes in my field is because they're private equity. It's private. It's not a public corporation. I have no data. There is no data. They're not going to give it to me. They're not going to go, oh yes, we're a zombie corporation. It's not going to happen. So the only thing that I can do as a person is raise the alarm really loudly and hope that my 27,000 colleagues start educating on this. And now I probably seem a little angry at those corporations I just mentioned, so let me explain that. A shortage was forecasted in my field about 8 years ago. The 2013 to 2014 Court Reporting Industry Outlook by Ducker Worldwide, we call it the Ducker Report, basically told us that, hey, you're not going to recruit enough stenographers before 2018 to meet demand. There's going to be a problem. And then 2018 to 2033, 70% of your field is going to retire. So if you do not pick up the recruitment, there's a cliff and you will have a problem. So what did we do as a field? We started recruiting. We have NCRA A to Z. We have Project Steno. We have Open Steno. We have all these ways that people can now try stenography low or no cost. What did the corporations do? Basically nothing. Some of them donated to Project Steno or related Steno stuff. But overall, they basically sat there and did nothing. US Legal bought Stenotrain, and then Stenotrain was like dusted from existence. Seriously, Google Stenotrain right now. It sounds just like the Stenotrain, and you get my blog. So they buy out Stenotrain, they put out this press release, yeah, we bought Stenotrain, blah, 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 and then it just disappears. And you're just like, what? In addition to that, they're not even using the bare basic tools of our field to recruit stenographers. We've had, for like at least a decade that I know about, something called Sourcebook. It's now called PRO Link. It's NCRA Sourcebook or PRO Link or whatever you want to call it. I don't know why NCRA decided to rebrand that, but that's a whole different issue. But they rebranded it recently. It's a national directory of stenographers, and there's about 10,000 of us in there, which is about a third of the field. So if you're not using that to recruit, you're not trying to recruit stenographers. So they're telling the consumers and us, the stenographers, oh, stenography is the gold standard. There's just not enough of you. We just can't recruit any of you. They're not trying to recruit anybody. How can you possibly say that there's just not enough when you don't even use the bare basic tools to get anybody? Not only that, I caught US Legal basically putting out propaganda. JD Supra, they have an article from July 2021 that's like, misconceptions about the stenography shortage. What's number one? Oh, we could just train more stenographers. How is that a misconception? They extrapolate numbers from the Ducker report, and they say, oh, 900 stenographers are going to leave every year, 200 are going to come in, so you just can't recruit enough stenographers to meet demand. Guess what? If you do that little equation in perpetuity, in about 30 years, you get negative stenographers. Guess what? That's not possible if you're getting 200 new stenographers a year. So their equation is BS. Well, if I'm right and they're all zombie corporations, then they need to pull a profit soon, because if they don't, investors are going to pull out or sue them or whatever. The gravy train is going to turn off at some point, because I don't care how rich you are, you're not sitting there sinking money into a loser for nothing. And we don't just see this in the circumstantial stuff that I'm talking about. We see it in their actions. When court reporters used to get a job, it used to be like, oh, go in there, go into room 5, take the job. That was it. We were trained what to do, or we weren't. We got thrown in there, thrown to the wolves. A lot of us left because we didn't feel prepared. We had imposter syndrome. How can I do this job? I haven't been trained for it. Meanwhile, Veritext is sitting there writing scripts for the digital reporters. US Legal is marketing out to digital reporters every day on LinkedIn. And, it's just like, oh, so you guys are actually really good at recruiting and helping people and helping your workers when you want to, but you couldn't do that for us, right? You couldn't do that for us. It didn't work that way. I'm not asking everybody to agree with me, but I am asking, if you're watching this, please tell a lawyer, tell a news person, tell a lawyer association, do something, because the only way that this comes to pass is if we don't recruit enough and they get away with their little lie and their little gambit and their little fraud. And if that happens, the minority speakers in this country, their legal records will be about half as accurate as they are today. Records in general will probably be about 20% less accurate than they are today. Just take 1 out of every 5 words out of a document and see how that goes. And this isn't hyperbole. The future of legal records is really bad. I caught Verbit putting somebody's family court proceeding audio on the internet to train their transcribers, and they took that from a Kentuckiana case. And in response, Kentuckiana basically defended Verbit and was like, oh, well, we proofread our transcripts 5 million times and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, guess what? The sample that Verbit had up, they misspelled point. They spelled point with a 0. They spelled virtually with an SH. This is the future that everybody is gunning for. This is technology at its finest. So, I don't know. Do we want that, America? And not to toot my own horn too much, but it takes a lot to be the person that comes out and says all this stuff. You coming out against a $100 million corporation, you're going, oh yeah, this is a fraud, this is BS. You don't know what's going to happen. They could threaten to sue. They could actually sue. Anybody could sue anybody in this country. You could sue me right now. You could send me a lawsuit that said Chris Day is a bad man and he owes me $1 million, and you could file that in Richmond County, and the court would pretty much have to accept it. And I would have to go defend that lawsuit. So, as far as that goes, I didn't know what to expect. Now I do. These guys haven't threatened me. They haven't tried to correct me. They haven't done much of anything. The only thing that I'm getting is little whispers from everybody in my circle going, oh yeah, so-and-so said you're being too controversial. Well, it seems to me that controversy is exactly what we need, because you have 2 futures right now. You have one future where the giant mega corporation is like, oh, we couldn't hire enough stenographers, so now we have to jack up your rates because there's no more to compete with us. And then the other future is the one where everybody's alerted to the fraud. Everybody knows this is a field to go to because I'm screaming it at the top of my lungs. These guys are screwing minority speakers. These guys are not good. They're screwing consumers. They're screwing us. It's if you get that in front of 1% of the country, which is about 3 million people, we know that about 10% of the people that try this get into it. Guess what? 10% of 3 million, that 1% that I just talked about, is 300,000. I mean, our field would be 10 times larger than it is today if we were louder. That's it. That's basically it. And if you're a digital court reporter and you've stumbled across my little rant here, then I encourage you to pick up stenography. Take that $15 an hour or that $50 an hour or whatever they're paying you and dump it right back into learning stenography. Because if they succeed in pushing us out of the market, the next thing that's going to happen is they're going to freeze your rates. And we know that from history because when the Federation of Shorthand Reporters in New York collapsed, it was basically a union or a quasi-union, or whatever you want to call it. When that collapsed, they froze our rates for 30 years. The average American worker's pay rose something like 50 cents adjusted for inflation, and the stenographers fell. And we're still making pretty damn good money. So, even with all this stuff stacked against us, we are the better modality, like by far, for your wallet, for the consumer, for basically everybody. And I just really need to ask you to give this field a try. And I will help you. Please reach out to me. As a matter of fact, anybody who has any questions, please reach out to me because I will help. I will explain it. I will take the time to connect the dots for you because there's a serious issue and it's happening right now.